del Monopoli. Va in Svizzera, raga, dite niente. Mi dispiaceva perché era anche una bella casa quella, che palle. Sbatti fuori di casa, ma ci sto pensando effettivamente, è ora che vadano a vivere da soli, quindi. In Svizzera, ma sai quanto costa? Ma amore che sei, Verde, che carina, ti mando un bacio tesoro, ma ti ringrazio, già le sub che mi dai sono più che sufficienti, figurati. Vai in affitto, e non ci sono affitti, non ci sono affitti, cioè non c'è un cazzo da fare, raga, a Bologna gli affitti non esistono, non esistono, cioè è lì il problema, non c'è un cazzo da fare, ragazzi. Voglio vedere se rimettendo l'orario mi dice qualcosa. Poi all'esoto. Vediamo se mi ringrazio di nuovo. No, ragazzi, è bellissimo! È vero, perché ieri mi aveva detto... metti l'orario che preferisci. Le 11.45 è il tuo orario preferito. O forse non è resistito a darmi di nuovo l'orario esatto. Dopotutto io lo so quando ti piace impostare l'orario esatto. Ora sono curioso di sapere quanto sono davvero le 11.45. Usiamo un altro cursore scorrevole per scoprirlo. Quanto sono attendibili le 11.45? Attendibilissime. Sai, posso dire che al di là della precisione dell'orario mi sto divertendo un sacco a settare queste impostazioni. Ma che cazzo?
Hello there.
Jessa, grazie per aver giftato una sub, Natina, grazie mille. Dai, raga, che mancano pochissime sub alla maratona. Dai, cazzo! Sento che sto imparando di più su di te e su come ti piace che le cose siano impostate. È bello raccogliere dati e venderli ai cinesi. Quanto vorrei avere più cursori scorrevoli, tutti quelli che ci sono li abbiamo visti. Forse posso inventare nuovi cursori per raccogliere altri dati. Non dovrebbe essere difficile, ma sì, fatene mettere qualcuno. Dovrebbe essere tutto pronto per la prossima volta che carichi il gioco. No, dai, cazzo. Dai, allora lo devo rivedere comunque. Noi adesso, ragazzi, abbiamo la storia da seguire. Non abbiamo ancora seguito la storia originale, tra l'altro.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed
a... Ok, adesso lo chiudo e lo riapro. Voglio vedere cosa mi dice. No, non è horror, è un gioco con trip mentale. È un trip mentale. Come si fa la sub? Stellina. La stellina sotto al canale, patatino, che ho scritto abbonati. Sul canale dovresti trovare la stellina che ho scritto abbonati. Questa roba qui non me l'aveva fatta fare. Regola il cursore finché il cane e il gatto non diventano amici. Finché il numero 5 non diventa 9. Cosa cazzo mi sta dicendo? Qual è il resto delle cose dopo? Che coglione. Regola il cursore finché non smetti di regolare il cursore. Quale di queste due parole inventate ti attira di più? O cubo incale, delichiappa. O cubo incale mi sa molto di sesso anale, ma anche delichiappa non è male. O cubo incale o delichiappa. O cubo incale. Non regolare il cursore. Va bene. Sai che ora è adesso? Certo che lo so. L'ora che adesso è l'ora giusta. Come faccio? Che coglione, se non me lo fai mettere. Ma poi, che cos'è il tempo? Sì, no. No. C'è ancora qualcosa che ti riguarda che non mi hai detto? Sì. Aiutami. Ok, va bene. Tornerai a trovarmi. No, ho sbagliato. Sì, certo. Che coglione. T'ho scammato la sub. Scusami, Jack, grazie per il resub, palatino. Questo gioco è di una stupidità, mi fa troppo ridere.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Stavolta voglio seguire un attimo seriamente la storia sua, perché non l'abbiamo ancora seguita a fondo. Abbiamo un sacco di linee parallele da andare. A parte che abbiamo anche il new content da vedere.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alla fine non lo seguo mai. E vabbè, che sti cazzi, è il bello della sorpresa.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's
Strano che non mi
office.
dice sì, osservato l'ufficio, bla bla bla. Strano che non me lo dice.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Che imbecille! Questo l'abbiamo già visto, ma è sempre bellissimo rivederlo.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Sì, magari Woofer, magari dopo, perché ho un sacco di altri finali che voglio vedere.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ok, stavolta fermiamo la macchina.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Stavolta fermiamo la macchina, non l'avviamo. Notte Giorgi T, ma prima di andare a letto ricordati di fare
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Qual è la trama? È un delirio sto gioco, non c'è la trama, è un delirio. Le scelte che fai influenzano il gioco, il narratore parla, si incazza, è un delirio.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Employee.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
Non lo so, Rombo, se le faccio. Dipende, vediamo. Stiamo a vedere, è un'idea, patatino.
No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Vedo una ciolla però, employee.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. Blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine. unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Cioè, praticamente se segui la storia normale, è una storia normale, praticamente. Non c'è nulla di strano. Finisci il gioco, esatto, praticamente hai fatto la storia normale. Nico, grazie per i 3 palatino, bentronato per armate, grazie per il resub. Ora facciamo i coglioni.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Ora andiamo dall'altra parte, che non
Stanley
ho finito
decided to go to the meeting room.
Rocket League.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
A parte che dobbiamo vedere anche new content, ma...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Aspetta, vediamo se rimango fermo, se mi dice qualcosa. Non sembra dica niente. Oh, andiamo a destra.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Menale, grazie per i 15, Palatino, grazie per il ritardo.
Perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door.
Dopo proviamo anche ad andare nella rossa.
All right, fine. Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Noi eravamo già andati all'arancione. Nell'arancione eravamo andati. Non eravamo andati in un'altra porta. Ah, beh. Ah, ok.
Okay, I'm going
Non
to
ne puoi
stop you
uscire.
there. Now,
Franz, grazie
tell me
per i
about your
20 patatino,
experience with
grazie
this
per i
new
sub.
version.
No, non
Would
puoi
you say
uscirne.
that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Aha! You see, I knew I was onto something. Where do these flashes of inspiration come from? How did I know the game needed a third door? Well, it's instinct mostly, a calling in your gut. I really couldn't say where the idea came from, except that I felt it in my soul. You can't teach that, Stanley. Don't even try.
Scusate.
Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
No, ragazzi, è un altro ancora? No, aspetta. Che cazzo dici? Ma cos'è sta roba? Ma Mussolini! C'era Hitler e Mussolini! Non ci posso credere, cazzo, sto gioco è una cosa geniale. Me li sono persi. Non so se riparte. Non so se riparte. Se non riparte non riesco a farteli rivedere. No, non credo riparta perché mi fa vedere il mio. Quindi non penso riparta. Tu sei il 9300. Ah, aspetta, forse riparto adesso, ok? Aspetta. Adesso vi faccio vedere. Guido O'Neill Niconacco. Adesso mi pare solo in foto. Adolf Hitler Mussolini. Ma quindi dove devo andare? Devo andare di nuovo di qua? Non mi ricordo qua, non mi ricordo più, cazzo.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please. Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Ok, stavolta proviamo a salvare
In
il
this
bambino.
game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of
lasciato
family
bruciare,
life.
voglio provare a
I
salvarlo.
think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for
conosci,
about
secondo
4
te la prima
hours.
volta non l'ho
So
fatto
why don't you
bruciare?
give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective?
4 ore di
Be
gioco.
sure to keep notes on your
Non
experience.
penso si possa salvare. Non penso si possa salvare. Non penso si possa salvare. Lo lascio bruciare, lo so, ma non lo salvo.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't
Per
think of a...
salvarlo devi davvero restare per 4 ore. Ragazzi, questo gioco è geniale, non c'è un cazzo da fare.
single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out. I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Ok, qui eravamo in montagna. Benissimo.
Aha! Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be
Verso
it.
scoppio
What a
rosa.
fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out
Questo
there.
qua è un altro gioco insieme a Rocket League. Dopo, da parte Rocket League, anche questo qua mi avete detto che è un altro gioco che non mi ricordo. Prova subito a scappare dal buco che c'è il muro. Non posso correre, come faccio? Non
Oh
posso
no.
correre.
No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing. That big, open, just wandering around. No right or wrong directions. No path to
posso
follow. You can just
passare.
go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Ok, qua siamo su Rocket League.
Wonderful. See, this is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be
No,
phenomenally
stavolta non mi voglio
impressed.
buttare.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yeah, I think
Touchdown,
surely we
che
must.
imbecille.
Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Ok, ora posso correre. Io non so nemmeno qual è la mia porta, tra l'altro, quindi...
Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes! Oh goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Ma questa cosa è bellissima. Palle, più palle, più palle. È la stessa cosa che dicono le ragazze in Erasmus. Più palle. Scusate.
Are you enjoying this, Stanley? Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure hope you're having a good time, because guess what? It's
Peruzzi, Messi,
over.
Maldini, Inzaghi, Insigne.
That's right. Your little fun comes to an end. This is my game, and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me to set boundaries for you. Without rules or boundaries, video games are nothing. Yes, that's what I am. I'm structure. I'm your sense of purpose.
Structure.
And since you decided you didn't want to play my game, now I don't want to play with you either. So, goodbye, Stanley. I'm leaving. See how you like it when I'm not around to set the rules. Somehow, I don't think you'll enjoy it as much. But who knows? You're an inventive kid. You'll come up with something. After all, you're the one who knows best. Take care, Stanley.
Allora, forse devo veramente cascare adesso. Adesso devo cascare giù perché immagino che sparisca e mi risponde solo quando casco. Aspettiamo che vediamo se dice qualcosa, se no ci buttiamo giù di nuovo come l'altra volta, però stavolta ci buttiamo nella porta blu. Che imbecilli che ho scritto. Aspettiamo un attimo per vedere se dice qualcosa. Ma tra l'altro in sto gioco mi avete detto che c'è un achievement che si ottiene solamente non giocandolo per 10 anni. Cioè, ma che cazzo? Oh ragazzi, dobbiamo ricordarci che quando smetteremo di giocarci, dobbiamo segnarci che tra 10 anni lo riapriremo per vedere che così sbloccheremo quell'achievement. C'è un achievement che praticamente tu lo ottieni solo se smetti di giocare e lo riapri dopo 10 anni. Dobbiamo ricordarci ragazzi, tra 10 anni dobbiamo riaprirlo,
Hold on. What are you doing?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Quindi qua mi sa che si raggiunge sempre il solito finale, secondo me. Sì, mi sa di sì. Basta cambiare la data del tuo computer. Oddio. Non so se funziona. Ah, basta cambiare... Ah, veramente? Basta cambiare la data del computer e è finita lì? Non vorrei incasinare qualcosa, però. Ma al massimo ce lo vediamo su YouTube. Ma poi che gusto c'è, scusami? Bisogna veramente aspettare 10 anni, se no che gusto c'è? Questo l'avevamo già visto, quindi in realtà non c'è una differenza enorme. Dobbiamo provare ad andare nel... Ah, beh, questo l'avevamo già visto. Dobbiamo andare nel new content.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way.
Ora facciamo il new
Once this
content,
ends,
sì.
after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon.
No,
Very
dai,
soon.
Andrea, aspettiamo 10 anni, va bene.
I can
Aspettiamo
wait.
10 anni, ragazzi. Dai, aspettiamo qui una decina d'anni. Quello sopra la piattaforma nella porta a destra. Facciamo il new
All of his
content.
co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to
È vero,
go to the
non
meeting
butta- no,
room.
buttarti la
Perhaps he had
piattaforma, mi sa
simply
che l'ho
missed a
fatto,
memo.
ma non...
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Ok, questo è nuovo. Ok, questo è completamente nuovo. Posso tornare indietro? No.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
The end is never
Yes,
the
you
end.
see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why there are so many possibilities? It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Che cretino.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean?
Con un
But the
trick tipo
Stanley
quello
Parable
nella stanza
2,
degli
now
schermi,
that's
puoi
an
saltare
artistic
fuori da una
statement
finestra
right
nell'ufficio.
there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress
Ah,
and
sì?
innovation
Guardo.
and long-term
Fatemi
franchising
vedere il titolo.
potential.
L'ho cambiato, Badatino, devi solo aggiornare. La modalità canne non
Now,
l'ho
to
più
be clear,
trovata.
I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Due, tutto un due. New feature. New content.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Il bottone che dice il nome del giocatore che sta giocando al gioco. Fai vedere?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the
ma dov'è?
person
Lo voglio
playing the
premere.
game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on.
no,
I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first. Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out of here. I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Jim.
See, if you'd only played along, that would have been your name the button says, but no. Instead, I can't even think about it. I'm taking the Jim button away.
No!
Jim.
No!
Jim. 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 Jim.
No! Jim. No! Io voglio il pulsante Jim. No! Ridammi il pulsante Jim, dai! Cattivo narratore, mi ha portato via il pulsante Jim. La dog mode non la trovo più, patati, non so più dov'è, devo ritrovarla.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created here.
Farò giocare a Stanley Parable 2 solo chi si chiama Jim. Oh, c'è anche il merch. E io vi ricordo che c'è il mio di merch. Lo trovate nelle info del canale. Lo voglio il merch di Stanley Parable. I saw the new content.
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday
un
and
attimo,
Happy
non ho visto
12th
QR.
Birthday. Which would you go with?
Quale QR, scusami? Forse il QR è di là, aspetta, adesso non ce l'ho. Quale facciamo? Mi piace il blu, ma mi piace anche il bianco. Paratino non doveva finire, gli sto convincendo a tenerlo lì, perché adesso sta venendo venduto, fino a quando me lo tengono. Anchinga, quale bottone premo qua? 1, 2, 3, premerò questo bottone qui, blu.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Get Well Someday it is.
Vabbè, ma tanto hai fatto tu. Tanto hai fatto che coglione.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision. We're moving
È
on.
tornato!
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley
tornato il
Parable
Charlie-
2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle.
Ricaricalo.
Oh, well.
No!
I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
No, dai, voglio saltare, no! Ma dai, proprio il QR. Un attimo, devo capire dov'è il QR, però. Dov'è il QR, scusami? A me va bene, ma devo capire... È lì, ma è lì che risposta è? Ah, è sul merch? Aspetta, devo ritrovare il merch. Proviamo. Riccroll in... No, se c'è un riccroll, ragazzi, diventa il gioco dell'anno. Se c'è un riccroll, diventa il gioco dell'anno. Aspetta, fammi proprio lo scanner del QR. Dove cazzo è lo scansione a QR, mo? Che cazzo l'ho messo? No, non va. No, non va. No, non lo piglia. Ah no. Ragazzi, è il sito di The Stanley Parable 2. È il sito di The Stanley Parable 2. Cioè, praticamente è il sito che ti parla di The Stanley Parable 2, praticamente di un potenziale 2. In sostanza più o meno. Molto figo. Molto figo. Bello spam. Beh, non è uno spam alla fine. È uno sponsor, ci sta. No, beh, adesso non sta a guardare il video, patatino, se no non finisco più. Aspetta, dov'è che eravamo? No, exit no, dov'è che eravamo? New Easy Achievement. Free Achievement. Premi la leva, ricevi l'achievement. Non ci sono più passi.
Now, here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Vediamo se mi dice qualcosa, aspetto. Ah, se non la premo non posso uscire. Vediamo se posso uscire. No, però ora sono curioso. Ora sono curioso.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Vediamo se mi dice qualcosa. No, non credo mi dica niente. Non credo, che coglione. Vediamo cosa ci manca da scoprire nella nuova.
What else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Oddio. Sopra? Sopra? Campione del mondo di impostazioni. Che cazzo è? Forse questo qua? That's new? Direi di no. Cos'è che non abbiamo visto? Cerchio del saldo. Buco infinito. Non abbiamo visto il buco infinito. Il buco infinito. Ecco, l'infinite hole ci manca. Voglio vedere cos'è il buco infinito.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is, in fact, a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right.
Il buco del culo di Cicciolina, in poche parole, il buco
You
infinito.
can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium. You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Aspetta, vediamo se non lo premo.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
Riccardo, grazie per l'anno, palatino. Grazie
Okay,
mille per il
Stanley, I
risale.
don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Vediamo se dice qualcosa. Aspetta, eh. Ok, non sembra dica niente per ora. Ah, ma è ovvio che mi ributto, non c'è bisogno che me lo dici perché è ovvio che l'avrei fatto.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel. Oh, for heaven... You see, I was right. The problem is you. The problem is that you like holes too much.
Puoi ben dirlo che mi piacciono I buchi.
Not normal. A normal person would have said, yep, that's an infinite hole right there, goes on forever till the end of time. Don't need to see it all, but not you. Oh, no, 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 no. You have a weird sort of... Oh.
È più
Did the
corto.
hole seem even shorter to you this time? I couldn't help but feel like you spent a little less time in there than you did before. I mean, admittedly, I didn't make an infinite hole, but I didn't think it was that not infinite. Well, I suppose once again there's nothing to do here. If you decide you've had enough of the hole, you can hit the teleport button and come join me up above. Had enough? I'm positively thrilled. I really do have so much more to show you and to talk about, and I've had enough of the hole for a lifetime. Gosh, how could I have guessed? You're back in the hole. If this starts to become a thing where... Wow. Okay. Yes. I'm starting to become extremely certain that the hole is not only not infinite, but that it's growing steadily less and less infinite. I suspect that I'm starting to hit the point where it's no longer feasible to call the hole infinitely deep, even by the lax overall standards for accountability in marketing. What's going on here? Stanley, I have no explanation for the uncertain nature of the hole's length. Here, let's try something. Let's pop back up to the top, and we'll see if it gets any shorter. Well, there it is. The shame of my lie has come to... How is this still appealing to you? I know you're obsessed with holes, but at this depth, I just can't see this scratching the itch. Oh, who am I to judge? You just do whatever it is you're here to do and hit the teleport button when you're ready to move on.
Non posso premerlo.
Is the
Non posso premerlo.
teleport button not working? You sure? Well, I mean, I really don't have an explanation. It was working just a moment ago. Try it again.
Non va, raga, non posso.
Still nothing? Well, I suppose there is one thing I can do to fix this. I'm out. Goodbye, Stanley. You couldn't bear to be away from the hole, and now you'll get more time with it than you could ever have asked for. It's a win for everyone. You get to be with the hole, I get to do literally anything else. Take care, Stanley. I hope you and the hole have a wonderful rest of eternity together.
Questo gioco è stupendo. Riesci a sfruttare la tua curiosità al massimo nonostante la maggior parte delle volte alla fine ti ha fatto perdere tempo e prendere in giro.
È vero.
Diverse volte riesci anche a prevedere perché te stai facendo una certa azione prendendoti ancora più in giro. Non so come lo faccia così bene
È vero, grazie per piacere. Sento la musica, però noi siamo completamente bloccati qui. Cosa succede? Dove stiamo andando? Ma va là, ma che cazzo dici? Ah, quindi ce l'ha uno sprite il protagonista. Che cazzo succede?
My head's stronger. You're no longer using up the space of mine.
Stanley? Stanley! Stanley! Oh, good, you're awake. It seems you had sort of dozed off there, drifting away into dreamland. But we can't have that, Stanley, because this hole is just so darn fascinating that I want you to be wide awake for every second of it. You don't want to miss a single moment. So how about if I just pop in from time to time and wake you up to keep you really, truly focused on the hole? From the looks of things, you and I will have many, many years here in this hole, and I'm looking forward to all of them. Stay alert, Stanley. I'll be back. Toodlepip.
Ma di nuovo? No.
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
Praticamente è una sorta di finale. Cos'è che ci manca? Vai nel buco. No, ma penso sia uguale. Adesso aspetta, prima ho visto un secchio. Cos'è il bucket?
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try. Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the
secchio
slightest
cambia
bit
ogni
more
finale.
attractive as a
No,
person.
che cazzo dici?
The benefits of the bucket seem to go on and on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley
Vado
Parable
col secchio nel
2.
buco. Vado col secchio nel buco.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Dov'è il buco? Ma non lo voglio tenere per sempre, lo voglio solo tenere un attimo per vedere. Vediamo se col buco cambia qualcosa. Ah no, non posso più vederlo il buco. Ah, non ci posso mica più tornare. Allora non può essere che cambi ogni finale così, perché scusami, se le cose si chiudono... Non credo che ci sia qualcos'altro. Buco pressoché infinito, che cretino. Non credo ci siamo persi altro, non credo ci sia nient'altro. Controlliamo. Il bottone che dice Jim. Questo è il secchio. Non mi sembra ci sia altro da vedere. Direi che possiamo uscire, non vedo altri finali.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Che imbecille. Ok, collectible.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Che imbecille. Ok, direi che possiamo andare verso l'uscita allora. Sì, ma io con sto secchio in mano, scusami.
All right, have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
c'era mica questa roba qui.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2. I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Che cazzo, ma che cazzo? Ma che cazzo sto guardando?
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
No, raga, ci sono i palloncini. No, ragazzi. Vi prego, che cazzo sto guardando? Ci sono i palloncini.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Raga, salto, scusate. La finestra, ma è chiusa. Guarda che nel mio ufficio non c'è.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Come faccio a saltare? Premi A, non posso saltare, raga. Ma buttati, ma come faccio? Non posso. Metti le H, ma io non so neanche come cazzo si mettono le H. Ma non ce l'ho il secchio. Sì che puoi saltare. No, non posso saltare. Cioè, sì che puoi saltare. No, non posso. Oh mio Dio, non ci posso credere.
Stanley picked up the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
Che imbecille, sono cambiati tutti quanti veramente.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. Yes, perhaps it truly was. How insightful the bucket turned out to be. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Che succede se vado di qua?
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked. But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Che cretino, no, vabbè, raga, questo gioco è geniale.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Ora devo tornare là.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Vediamo un po'.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Posso tornare indietro? No.
Now pick up the phone.
Said the bucket.
Pick up the phone and it will take us back home where we can go about life together.
Cazzo.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Ah, è casa mia, mia del secchio. Siamo io e il secchio fidanzati. Ciao Stanley, sono io il tuo secchio. Premi giù per portarmi.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head.
Che così. Adesso voglio staccare la spina del telefono. Premi A per riportarmi a casa con te. Ah, non ero.
Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
Ma che cazzo sta...
Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Oggi non vedrò più i secchi allo stesso modo. Non ascoltare l'uomo che blatera. Premi Y per tornare.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal.
Premi Y per ignorare chiunque nella tua vita tranne me. Praticamente il secchio parla come se fosse tua moglie.
It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore.
NCH
From now
è il
on, he's
finale
just going to
classico,
cling to this
cambia con il
bucket, this
secchio.
cold,
E puoi
empty
uscire dalla
bucket,
finestra
this
solo
sort of
quando c'è la stanza
shiny
iniziale
bucket.
blu che una cosa
Well, I'll give it
randomica.
this. The bucket does have a nice shine to
Andatevene
it.
io. Tu credi che io sia reale, vero Stanley? Premi Y per tornare a casa.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount of water from one room to another.
Premi X per rivivere. E se premo un altro tasto? Non posso.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
Premi A per tornare a casa, al lavoro, a casa, al lavoro, a casa.
Oh no. I'm having feelings. For the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps, if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes.
Secchio.
The bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation.
Signori, abbiamo da fare fichi con il secchio. Il buco è abbastanza largo, quindi dovremo starci.
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Ho capito. Questo gioco è geniale, ragazzi. Non era qui.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Vediamo un attimo se andiamo, aspetta, vediamo un attimo.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Vediamo se sembriamo subito il codice col secchio.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Per fare il secchio come una persona. È
You
collezionabile.
found one of them. One of the miniature
Ci sono
Stanley
veramente.
figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Che imbecille. Le voglio tutte subito.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Sto girando.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Proviamo a vedere di qua
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Ognuno dei due. Vediamo cosa succede col secchio.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
"Farewell, Stanley," cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws.
Anche il
In a
suo è
single
cambiato.
visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end as it was crushed violently to death. It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
Il secchio. Ma che cazzo? Questo gioco è di una demenza infinita. Ma che cazzo?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his shorts? No
l'ho
man
finito
can own a
ricaricato sul canale
bucket,
YouTube.
and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before
Il
the
secchio
bucket.
appeso. Ma sto levitando.
But there is something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision for...
Ma come il secchio al comando di un nuovo mondo? Questo gioco è bellissimo, cazzo. Papere, io chiudo qua che sono un po' cotto e vado a riposarmi. Papere, io anche questa sera vi ringrazio per i follow e le sub, il divertimento, le risate. Noi ci vediamo domani alle 21 per una nuova live. Io vi auguro tanta buona Anna Paratini, vi mando un abbraccio e un bacione. Noi ci vediamo domani. Notte, papere!